Do you see what Whoopi Goldberg said?
What'd she say?
Whoopi Goldberg said,
This Turning Point conference, these were in the front of out there in front of the conference with anti-Semitic slurs.
Every single person that attended that Turning Point, every Republican speak up against these, because against the flags that were waved.
You let them in.
President, open your
You let them in and you knew what they were.
Right.
So you are complicit.
We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Do you remember what Whoopi Goldberg said recently? The remark was so loud and so reckless that it made headlines almost instantly. She claimed that at a Turning Point conference, there were anti-Semitic banners and slurs being displayed. In her framing, everyone associated with the event was tainted. She insisted that those who attended were complicit, accusing organizers of allowing those flags and those individuals inside knowingly. To her, it was open and shut. If you didn't denounce it on the spot, then you were guilty by association. But there was a catch. Turning Point's lawyers, some of the sharpest legal minds in the field, immediately countered. They argued that what Goldberg had done was not just sloppy journalism, but an outright smear against thousands of students, many of them high schoolers, who had traveled from across the country to attend. And those attorneys made it clear, this wouldn't simply fade into the news cycle. They weren't going to let her paint 5,000 kids with a label that could follow them for the rest of their lives. That's when Joe Rogan decided to weigh in. And true to form, he didn't hold back. While other commentators tiptoe cautiously, terrified of lawsuits or backlash, Rogan barreled forward like a runaway freight train. His words weren't designed to spark polite chuckles, they landed like grenades. Instead of treating daytime television with kid gloves, he swung like a heavyweight boxer aiming for a knockout. His focus? The View. The View is marketed as a casual roundtable of women discussing news and culture, but Rogan framed it as something entirely different. A circus disguised as journalism, where gossip is recycled as truth and smug certainty replaces genuine debate. He didn't dress it up. He didn't soften his language. His critique was blunt, raw, and unforgettable.
the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. I think the problem with that show is that show has this very specific ideological bubble in which they operate in. You know, and they always bring on a token conservative woman and they yell over her and silence her.
So between ambushing Zelensky and this, why would world leaders continue to come to the White House?
Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows. If you've ever seen audiences before for TV shows, a lot of them are paid because they have to guarantee that there's going to be people there. So there's services that you hire.
This is the problem with getting all your information from Laura Loomer and Elon Musk. This is what they're going to deal you.
It's a very strange show.
And his timing couldn't have been more perfect. Goldberg had just declared on live television, "We are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons."
This is the most important part. This is right after she was saying, we are run by ABC News. You should trust us, not Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. So she by saying we should trust them because they're double checked by ABC News, and then making the stupidest statement.
So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
Regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to
That soundbite became her undoing. On one hand, she invoked the credibility of ABC's newsroom as a shield. On the other, she made a statement so absurd that it demolished the very authority she was leaning on. Rogan seized on the irony instantly. To him, it was a perfect example of why audiences no longer trust corporate media. A host waves the banner of journalistic integrity and then immediately undercuts herself with nonsense. It was so clumsy that Rogan could barely contain his laughter, tearing the moment apart on his podcast with the precision of a surgeon and the gleeful savagery of a comic. But then, the story took a twist. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point, wasn't content to just fire off tweets or issue angry press statements. He went nuclear. Word spread quickly that Kirk and his organization were preparing to file a $100 million lawsuit against The View. That number wasn't random. It wasn't just about money. It was about sending a message as loud as thunder: smear our students and you'll pay dearly.
So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
Regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo...
In the media world, most conflicts end with hashtags or half-hearted apologies written by publicists. But Kirk brought in the heavy artillery, real lawyers, real claims, and damages so massive they could shake the foundation of a network. This wasn't a symbolic gesture. It was war. Rogan's commentary became the amplifier. He admitted he wasn't a legal expert, but culturally, he knew exactly what this meant. He painted the lawsuit as a mirror held up to the arrogance of legacy media. For years, shows like The View had operated on the same script: toss accusations like confetti, bask in the applause of a curated studio audience, then brush off any backlash with a shallow apology before moving on to a fluffy celebrity segment. But this time, the formula broke down. Rogan's metaphors only made things worse for The View. At one point, he described the show as a rabies-infested henhouse. The imagery was brutal, chaotic, screeching, and unhinged.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching and hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean, it is a rabies infested hen house.
and at the same time, it seemed like the most interesting part was their audience seemed to be on my side.
Yes.
And that's their audience.
Yes. Well, their audience is not really their audience. Their audience is a group of people they bring in to watch television shows.
Yet still pretending to be dignified. The phrase caught on instantly across social media, spreading like wildfire. It became a shorthand for everything people already felt about the show, but hadn't said out loud. Meanwhile, another co-host, Sunny Hostin, poured more fuel on the fire by sneering at what she called uneducated white women who voted for Donald Trump. That clip, too, went viral.
If you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television.
Sonny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out. It's like if you had an idea for a premise and it was totally baked and half baked and you went on stage with it and it's nothing
Just
there.
go for it. Yeah,
there's nothing there. The culture shift between right and left authoritarianism, and now people don't recognize that if you just stopped looking at it in terms of red and blue, look at the actions: suppression of free speech, pharmacological interventions that are mandatory, whatever it is. That used to all be associated with the authoritative right, the authoritarian right, and now those things are being embraced by the left. And I just think it's just an ideology thing, and I think we get confused and we think we're on the right side. We're on the right side. And if it's our side that's saying this, for sure that's the right thing to do. And no one's critically thinking about this.
Joe Rogan is the gateway drug for young men that thought they were Democrats to become MAGA. Joe Rogan is the bridge. And on that bridge, they'll see RFK. They'll see Elon Musk.
Sparking outrage far beyond politics. Rogan and others pointed out the arrogance in assuming that wisdom only comes from a college degree. He reminded his audience that plenty of educated elites are completely detached from reality, while many without formal education hold practical knowledge and common sense.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back.
Arrogance, Rogan argued, was the very reason shows like The View were collapsing in credibility. They dismissed huge swaths of the population as beneath them, all while presenting themselves as moral arbiters. For many viewers, that was the breaking point. Kirk doubled down as well, clarifying that the lawsuit wasn't about him personally, it was about protecting students. 16 and 17-year-olds who had traveled across the country to attend a conference now had to live with labels slapped on them by powerful hosts with a national platform.
So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
Regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo...
As Kirk put it, it wasn't about whether he accepted an apology. It was about whether the students, unfairly smeared, could ever erase that shadow. That statement hit hard. Suddenly, this wasn't just politics. It was about reputations, about ordinary kids being dragged into cultural crossfire by television hosts too reckless to check their words. The View's usual defense mechanisms, dramatic gasps, fiery rants, smug certainty, looked hollow when stacked against a $100 million legal demand. And their refusal to meaningfully address the lawsuit only made the silence louder.
I get it. I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show. If the CIA is engineering, Antifa in the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
Rogan, meanwhile, turned the entire saga into cultural theater. His laughter at their expense became a kind of anthem for millions of people who had long felt silenced or dismissed by mainstream media. The lawsuit loomed like a ticking time bomb, promising discovery, leaked emails, and behind-the-scenes secrets that executives had hoped would stay buried forever. For ABC, it wasn't just a PR nightmare, it was an existential threat. What made Rogan's reaction devastating was that he didn't need to embellish anything. The absurdity spoke for itself. He just pointed, laughed, and amplified. It was like holding a mirror up to a heavily airbrushed portrait, exposing every crack and flaw. Old clips of The View resurfaced, too. Like the infamous moment when Tulsi Gabbard confronted Joy Behar live on air, and Behar scrambled through her notes in panic as her talking points unraveled. Rogan and his guests highlighted how often the show operated not on knowledge, but on bluster. It wasn't a roundtable of informed debate. It was theater, propped up by producers and a studio audience that was often literally paid to clap.
Did you watch the episode when Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said?
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, a book.
And there's versions of it.
And the lawsuit threatened to expose even more. Discovery meant internal communications, strategy documents, and contradictions spilling into public view. What was once just suspicion, that the show played fast and loose with the truth, now had the potential to be proven in court. For Rogan, this became more than commentary. It became a cultural reset. His takedown stripped The View of its armor, leaving it looking less like a pillar of truth and more like a desperate group chat broadcast on television. The illusion of invincibility shattered. What remained was a brand built on outrage, suddenly realizing that outrage comes with a price tag. And that's why this story resonated far beyond politics. It wasn't just about Goldberg or Kirk or Rogan. It was about a cultural moment when the old guard of daytime television collided with the new reality of viral platforms and legal consequences. And this time, the collision left cracks too deep to ignore.